Hey everyone, this is Sam from Wrestling Overtime, and as you can tell from my voice, I have been having problems with it for about a week. That's the reason why you haven't heard from me, and we are a little bit behind here at Wrestling Overtime. But we're on episode 19, and we're going to be covering WWE Smackdown that happened on January 24th of 2020, but we're also going to be talking a little bit about the results of the Royal Rumble that happened on January 26th. So what we're going to do is kind of go through SmackDown. I watched it before I watched the Royal Rumble, and going to give you some quick thoughts on SmackDown, and then we're going to go over the Royal Rumble. Kind of think about or throw out some things that we may see happening. We all know that the Royal Rumble actually starts the road to WrestleMania, and that we should, after the Royal Rumble, actually know some of the storylines, or at least be able to guess some of the storylines that are going to be taking over our airwaves for the next couple months. We also all know that, they try to swerve us some at the Elimination Chamber, but we're going to kind of try to take that into account. This year, I don't see them doing a swerve or anything at the Saudi Arabia show in February. However, I can see them doing that at the Elimination Chamber. I don't think that WWE has a good handle on exactly what they want to see in WrestleMania. So, like I said, let's go over SmackDown for January 24th. It was in Dallas, Texas. And Corey Graves and Michael Cole are on the call. And, of course, starts out with the Usos. I really enjoyed them coming out. And I think the main reason was they came out with new merch. And you could see, I believe it was Jimmy, wearing a new Skull shirt. And I thought it looked pretty cool. It kind of fit their image a little more. It wasn't too heelish, because right now they're baby faces. But it wasn't too cartoonish to make it babyface. So I think they really walked the line with it. It could go either way. Loved it up until the fact that they announced that they were doing a 6-man tag team match. Now, of course, you guys know how I feel about these 6-man tag team matches. I feel like they don't flow. I felt like this one doesn't flow, but we're going to talk to that as we get into it. Obviously, they hit Roman Reigns' music, and we have to see the animated dog, which I don't know. I laugh every time I see it, but it gives Corey and Michael the opportunity to start talking about the false count anywhere match that they're going to be doing at the Royal Rumble. As I told you, I believe in the last episode, if not, it was the episode before that. Not real sure why they are actually doing the false count anywhere. Roman and Corbin are bigger guys. They do need to rest. They do have limited skill set. So I understand that they want them to basically have a brawl. And, the false count anywhere allows that to happen. That they can brawl, they can hit each other into things, but it also, as they're going around, the stadium, it allows them to rest. I understand that part of it. But when you're actually sitting down and you're thinking logically, this doesn't make much sense, because Baron Corbin is a chicken heel. He loves to run. He wants Dolph and Bobby Roode to come out and do his dirty work. Well, when you set up a false count anywhere match, there is no disqualifications. So basically, by them saying that this is the stipulation of the match, basically they're saying Rude and Dolph Ziggler are going to get involved, and the Usos are going to get involved. I don't want to see that. Like I said, I don't like 6-man tag matches. I don't like when, there's 3 of them on one beating somebody up and all of that. And so I am definitely not looking forward to this match. A cage match would have sounded better. The actual strap match that they've got The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan doing would have sounded better. I don't know what all kind of, if they wanted to have a gimmick match, what should have chosen. But this, I don't know. Maybe it'll look good in the Royal Rumble. But right now, just the way they're explaining it to me, I'm not really looking forward to this match because I can see, like I said, everybody and their brother's going to be interfering. So, of course, then we have King Corbin getting carried out on his throne with Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler. Roode's outfit makes him look more like the King than Corbin's outfit. I mean, I think if you would throw a sparkly crown on Bobby Roode, he's got the actions, the mannerisms, the robe of a king. Whereas Corbin just, he doesn't. I don't get into him being King Corbin. I don't feel like that he orders people around, and I don't feel like he can back it up if they don't follow what he says. So him kind of playing this role, especially when you compare him to the Monday Night Messiah role that Seth Rollins is playing, and he's got his goons with AOP and Buddy Murphy. Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler just don't stack up. So, of course, this match, like I said, kind of turns into a brawl. It's a lot of 3-on-1 stuff, a lot of tags where, they're not immediately getting out of the ring. Of course, Jimmy Uso gets hurt. Everybody is concerned, and they're not sure the match is even going to continue. The medical staff takes him to the back, and so the referee does say, hey, this match needs to continue. So, like I said, all match long, really felt like Rude and Ziggler, who are ultimate professionals. I still say they're 2 of the most underrated wrestlers in WWE, just like Cesaro is. And so I thought that they did an awesome job at being heels, at cheating, at working well together. With them being so experienced, I think that they just kind of read each other and know what kind of movesets that they're going to do. I feel like Corbin's getting it a little bit by working with them, and maybe that was a good choice for WWE to put Corbin in with them, but he just, when it comes to working with them, you can tell he is the more unexperienced performer. Like I said, Corbin's just a chicken heel, and he plays that role really well. I'm not putting him down with it, but I think WWE needs to realize that and play that up a little more, and of course, let him be that way. Now, we all knew that Jimmy Uso wasn't really hurt, and he was going to come back to the ring. I felt like he didn't sell his injury really well. I honestly wasn't really sure until after the match which leg was hurt, because he goes through the ropes on a suicide dive to hit Corbin, and then he goes off the top rope, and I don't know. I just didn't buy the whole injury thing, like I said, until after the pin, and he was walking around, and of course then he was selling the injury. So the Usos and Roman Reigns win, but Roman and Corbin are fighting out into the crowd, and it looks like they're headed basically to backstage. Not sure why WWE did not immediately switch to that. Them going around the ring. That could have showed us a little bit about what their Falls Count Anywhere match would have looked like. But I have the funny feeling that, they got backstage and they just quit and sat down and, had a jibber jab session. But even Corey and Michael didn't sell that part. Oh, they're headed backstage. They're still fighting. We need to get a camera back there. We need to know what's going on. I thought even maybe later in the show there would be a follow-up, especially with Jimmy Uso, to find out, was he hurt? Was he not hurt? Was he going to be cleared? We've got Rumble in 2 days. I thought maybe they would go to a backstage promo of checking on Roman and Baron and showing them either still fighting or being separated or something. So just really disappointed with WWE in that. If I was going to name the show, I would name this the Flashback Show. They do a lot of flashbacks to last week. They even do some flashbacks to, a couple months ago. And then they do a flashback of the whole Royal Rumble history since 1988. And so a lot of time was wasted. I felt like nothing was really accomplished as far as extending storylines or even getting me interested in storylines that I may not have been interested in. Or maybe I was interested in them and I wanted them just to take it up a notch to make sure, hey, this isn't the match I want to go to the bathroom in. Or, hey, this is not, where I'm going to go get something to drink. So what they did, of course, was show flashbacks of last week with Kane coming out. And then with the Fiend thinking he surprised Kane. And Kane basically turning around and saying, what took you so long? And the Fiend getting kind of a weird look on his face as Daniel Bryan attacks him. And, they had to end that flashback with Daniel Bryan having pulled out some of the Fiend's hair. And then after the commercial, they showed more flashbacks. And what they showed was of Bayley and Lacey Evans, and it being a non-title match. And of course, everybody knew as soon as we heard that it was a non-title match that Lacey was going to win. And I told you last week when she won that obviously meant that unless they had another battle this week where Bayley got her back due to 50-50 booking, that just meant that Lacey wasn't going to win at Royal Rumble. I want her to. I want to see Bayley not have the title anymore. I'm kind of getting sick of her. I'm kind of getting sick of her having the title. So, was just, I don't know. I'm getting really indifferent about this match. But after they come back from flashbacks, we see Michael Cole standing on the stage, and he introduces Lacey Evans. And I immediately thought they have been watching AEW. Because AEW from the start has been having Tony Schiavone or Justin Roberts interview certain superstars to prepare them for the match coming up or for the contract signing or whatever in the ring. They have even interviewed some stars on the stage, such as the Chris Jericho and Cody signing. It was some of the interviews there took place on the stage. So it's very obvious that WWE has been watching AEW. And they, of course, bring out Lacey for Michael Cole to talk to. And Lacey goes into her babyface routine. This totally fits her. You can see that she means it, that she's passionate about it, that in real life she doesn't take bullies, that it was hard on her when she was growing up, that her dad lost a battle to depression and addiction, and how this made Lacey want to be a positive role model, want to live her life differently. And then she talked about going into the Marines and how that changed her, and how, now all she wants to do is inspire people to accomplish their goals and actually become who they were always meant to be. Well, this is Lacey Evans. WWE, I don't know how you could spend 5 minutes with this lady and not see this is her. I don't understand why when they brought her up as a heel. She is an all-American girl. She is an all-American Southern Belle. She is an all-American Marine. I've never understood why they even thought she should be a heel. I think they should have been selling the Marine hero, wife, mom, job, woman that can do it all, standing up to bullies, believing in the American flag. I thought they should have been selling that all along. So I don't know. I don't get why WWE didn't go this way. And then, of course, Michael Cole has to ask a question about her daughter, Summer, and how did she feel when, basically Sasha was making fun of her and getting in between her daughter, Summer, and Lacey, and then Bayley coming over and them not allowing Lacey to get to her daughter. And I thought, it was really interesting that she said, well, I'm really proud of my daughter. I felt like, my daughter took up for herself. However, backstage, I had to answer a lot of questions. And, of course, she's getting ready to talk about some of those questions. Also kind of talk a little bit about Bayley when Bayley comes out to attack her. So, just really think this is a weird segment, because WWE for the last, good month, maybe 5 weeks, 6 weeks, has really been putting the women together. They've been having 2 segments back to back, or 3 segments back to back to back, or something, and it's almost like created, this is the women's time, instead of spreading them out. Instead of saying, hey, we're going to have something about the women in the first hour, we're going to have something about the women in the second hour, we're going to have different articles about them. We're in Raw, we're going to have something with them in every hour. WWE, it's almost like they want to segment them and put them in like a category. And I thought it was real interesting that on, in interviews that Becky Lynch did, she brought up on Backstage, WWE Backstage on Tuesday nights, that she didn't want that. She doesn't want attention being drawn to the women. She wants them to be recognized and known for being wrestlers, not women wrestlers. So I found it really interesting that Becky said this just Tuesday night, and then here we are Friday night, and they're basically doing exactly what Becky was going against, because our very next segment is Carmella and Dana Brooks being interviewed and talking about how they're both in the Royal Rumble, And of course, Carmella has to use this time to brag about, winning at WrestleMania, about winning the Money in the Bank, of cashing in and being, the champion. And Dana comes back with, I might be an underdog, but it's every woman for themselves in this Royal Rumble match, and how, you don't know how the cards are going to get played, and that she could possibly sneak in there and win it. And then we see Lacey basically interrupting by beating Bayley down. And I just thought it was weird that Carmella and Dana Brooks get involved. And they start trying to stop it and trying to stop Lacey. Well, the last time I checked, Carmella and Dana aren't really heels. They're not really, baby faces. Carmella was a heel for such a long time. Then she got with R-Truth and became a baby face. Now she's not with them. I don't think that they've really defined their characters. Are they heels? Are they baby faces? So why are they jumping on Lacey? Lacey's not in the Royal Rumble. However, if those two do win the Royal Rumble, then one of them is going to go face Bayley. So why are they trying to stop Lacey from hurting Bayley? Why wouldn't they actually get on Lacey's side and basically beat up Bayley, go on 3-on-1, maybe even put her out so that she has to forfeit the title? So that logically didn't make a lot of sense to me. So then we see Bliss and Nikki Cross come out. And of course, I hear the word tag team, so I'm like, great. They're going to take on Fire and Desire for the third or fourth week in a row. And I'm just like, this is old. You don't do a program with 2 competitors or 4 competitors in this instance where they're having matches every week. It wears the crowds down, and we don't want to see it. I'm done with this. They're not going anywhere with it. They are using it to further the Otis Mandy storyline, and so I was kind of waiting for Otis to come out. But as far as doing a program, which I think would be awesome, I told you guys 2-3 weeks ago, these 4 wrestlers, with Alexa Bliss being, a gymnast, and creating this character that's cocky and really wants to get after people. Nikki Cross has created a character that is supposed to be a psychopath, sociopath, uncontrollable. You've got Mandy Rose, this beautiful goddess that is very athletic and is learning the skill of wrestling and is picking it up pretty well. You've got Sonya Deville, who is an MMA fighter and is doing really well. These are your future stars. This is your future. It's, I know that NXT is where people want to build the future, but this is your future. And for them just to waste this, doing, singles matches where people are distracting other people and they're getting sham, basically, roll-ups, and because somebody gets distracted by Otis, for the last couple weeks has just been really boring. So I was just waiting for Otis to come out. Well, they don't even get halfway through a match, and no, it's not Otis that comes out and distracts them. It's Bayley and Lacey. And my first question, Lacey is chasing Bayley into the ring. Well, number one, if I'm Bayley, I'm not going in the ring. Number two, where did Carmella and Dana Brooke go? Because they didn't come out. So did Lacey beat them down? Did Bailey beat them down? Did the referees hold them back? Did they get tired and they decided to take a nap? Exactly where were they? But, like I said, Lacey chases Bailey into the ring. Well, DeVille immediately grabs Lacey. And her and Mandy go after Lacey, whereas Bliss and Cross have got Bailey in a corner and are kicking the crap out of her. And instead of staying there, seeing what happens, seeing is there going to be any injuries, is this going to set up a match later in the night, are we going to define now that Fire and Desire is a heel team, whereas Bliss and Cross is a babyface team? Instead of staying with it, they immediately switched to Elias. Well, you guys know how I feel about Elias, and I'm like, really? This is stupid. Of course, I think, Elias is going to start singing, but Braun immediately walks up and tells him, let's go to work. And they say they're taking on Cesaro and Shinsuke. And I'm like, well, okay. Well, they go to commercial. And I'm thinking, you didn't give us an update. It's just another loose end that WWE hasn't tied up. We have no idea if Roman and Corbin are still fighting. Somehow they got 6 women that were all beating each other up out of the ring and have set Elias up now. Because when we come back in 3 minutes, Elias is giving his promo. And he's singing again about superstars that are in the Royal Rumble that he's going to beat. And, he wants Braun to sing with him. I guess they're portraying Braun as a babyface. And he asked Alice, what do they want him to do? Of course, they want him to sing. And as he's getting ready to sing, Cesaro's music hits. And then Shinsuke's music hits. And out they come with Sami Zayn. This was an awful match. For Shinsuke to look so good in New Japan. And Cesaro to look so good in almost every match he wrestles. And be one of the most underrated wrestlers around. It just sickens me to see them have just this awful of a match with Braun and Elias. And I know that if I would talk to them, they would say, hey, there is only so much you can do with Braun. He doesn't know wrestling. And there is definitely so much you can do with Elias because he's new and he really hasn't put the work and the time in. But, for Cesaro to lose again, the second week in a row, for him to lose on a Macho Man elbow, just really ridiculous. Can't believe Sammy didn't, interfere, but moving on. So then we have to have flashbacks of Daniel Bryan issuing a challenge of a strap match to The Fiend and how he wants him hooked to him so he can't run away and go down the hole. He keeps saying that, and it just makes me think that The Fiend needs to drag him in the hole with a strap. But then we immediately cut over to the New Day promo and them yakking and talking and being stupid. And Kofi basically starts, saying that he's going to take on John Morrison. Well, again, this is the 3rd or 4th week of this. I'm already done with this. You have gave us a match, a singles match, every week now for 3 or 4 weeks. I'm done. I don't want to see a tag match. I don't want to see them around each other anymore. I'm done. So they do catch up with, Baron Corbin. But he really doesn't go into, the fight that him and Roman went into. He just says that, after he gets a hold of Roman in their Falls Count Anywhere match at the Rumble, that Roman won't be able to make it to the last match of the night, which is the Men's Royal Rumble, and that he, Baron Corbin, will win the Royal Rumble, and he will take the Universal Championship at WrestleMania. Well, that immediately hit me. The Universal Championship is held by The Fiend. So Baron Corbin's going to take on a heel, The Fiend, who runs away and goes down a hole. And Baron Corbin is a chicken heel who runs away and goes backstage and lets Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode take care of everything. So how is that going to work? Well, that's not logical. So guess what? I can cancel. Baron Corbin's not winning the Royal Rumble. He's probably not even going to look good doing it. So since he mentioned the magical words Royal Rumble, that of course has to trigger another flashback. So they start showing highlights, talking about numbers of people coming in at number 1, or people coming in at number 11, people coming in at number 30. They start going through, all the different kinds of people that have won at different numbers, and the amount of eliminations, and everything that's happened since 1988. Of course, they've got to show some of Kofi's crazy saves that he has made and is known for. But, again, with the flashbacks. So I guess that was basically to give Kofi time to get in the ring and John Morrison to get ready, and he comes out with The Miz, and I'm not sure what they're doing with John Morrison with the blurred kind of fancy camera image that they're doing for Mandy Rose. Number one, I think it looks better on Mandy Rose because she has that yellow light behind her, and it almost casts an ethereal glow on her, whereas they're not really doing that with John Morrison, and he's not getting far enough away from The Miz, or they're not shooting him at an angle where they kind of cut The Miz out. So it really makes it look distorted and stupid, because here you're given this god type image of Morrison, and you can see Miz, and he sometimes is in the image that's clear, and then depending on how they shoot the camera angle or the way he walks, he's in the blurred part. So it just makes it look stupid, and I don't know that they should be doing it with him anyway. I'm not sure I like it, but it does detract from it, and I get distracted and start thinking about that. I love it that Miz, brings his microphone and gets onto the crowd about booing John Morrison, and talks about, how John Morrison isn't a bad guy, and that he's been gone, and that most people don't remember him. And then he says, if you're booing him because he's around me, The Miz says, of course, I'm not a bad guy. You just need to watch next Wednesday night when The Miz and Mrs. premieres. You'll see, that I'm not a bad guy. And then he has to announce that both of them are entering the Rumble. Well, I guess that solves one question that I had. I just figured on Sunday they would be taking on the New Day again. So glad that they're not. Glad that, maybe this storyline will just fade away and we'll forget about it. Because I'm getting tired of the New Day versus them. But maybe not. I don't know. So, basically, this is a fairly quick match. Yes, Kofi hits, his kick, but he doesn't get really any offense going, which was a little disappointed. And Morrison, I kind of got the feeling that they were running out of time. And because, Morrison fairly quickly hits the Starship Pain and wins again against Kofi. He beat Big E last week. Like I said, it's just kind of getting crazy. We then go to the Sheamus promo. And he's again trying to explain why he is going after Chad Gable and calling him a rat and calling him short and blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, they show the flashback of him bro kicking him. And then they show the flashback from 2 weeks ago where Chad Gable stood up to him and basically hit him back, slapped him. And then Sheamus threatens Gable and says, they're gonna do it at the Royal Rumble. I don't want to see a match between these two. I know it sounds awful. Sheamus is finally back. I want to see him in the Rumble. I want to see him in a program. And this isn't it. So they immediately switch to Michael Cole, who's standing in the ring. There's obviously going to be a contract signing. So like I was saying, Michael Cole is really going over the strap rules and talking about how, they'll hook each other's hands in one end of the strap, how they're not going to be able to get away, but they can take the strap and beat each other with it, and how this is going to be the signing of the contract. Of course, Daniel Bryan comes out and is doing the yes chant, and Michael Cole goes to introduce Bray Wyatt or The Fiend, and the Firefly Funhouse comes on. And we see Bray with what appears to be an older fax machine, and he is trying to send the contract signing over to them. Now, in the ring, there isn't a fax machine, so not real sure where Bray was going to be sending that, what phone number he was going to be sending that to or anything. But we see it start smoking. So Daniel Bryan says, obviously you can't get this done. So he basically demands that Bray come out and just sign the contract himself. I enjoyed this next part where Bray says his lawyer, Mercy the Buzzard, has advised him to stay right there. Now, I'm not as great of a big fan of Mercy the Buzzard as I am Ramblin' Rabbit. I thought it was funny that, that they are still taking the characters that are part of the Funhouse and using them in the story. So I kind of enjoyed that. So, of course, Daniel says, this is typical Bray. He wants to run from him constantly, and that he never wants to appear where Daniel may be able to get his hands on him or anything like that. Bray's comeback is that Daniel won't be taking him, meaning Bray Wyatt, on this Sunday, but he will be taking on him, meaning the Fiend. And so that the Fiend probably should sign the contract. So, of course, the lights go out. And then the Fiend has basically the end of the strap and just attacks Daniel Bryan. He is beating him with the strap. He quickly gets him into a mandible claw. Then he Sister Abigail's him, and then beats him with the strap. And Daniel is pretty much lying there, almost helpless. So the Fiend actually goes over to the table, makes sure that he gets situated in the seat, scoots up, and then proceeds to stab himself with a pin in order to get himself to bleed, and signs the contract with his blood from his hand. Then the lights go out. We notice that when the lights come back on, the Fiend is gone. But there is, a blood handprint on the contract. And it's kind of left with Daniel half crawling around and seeing that on the contract. This SmackDown, in my opinion, was an okay first SmackDown. It, however, was not great for a go-home before the Royal Rumble. Some people think behind WrestleMania, the Royal Rumble is the second biggest pay-per-view around. I go back and forth depending on what's going on. This year I think it's probably going to be the third. I would vote SummerSlam ahead of it. But for them not to put on a good show for Fox, knowing the Super Bowl's coming up, knowing Royal Rumble's coming up, really is disappointing. I just didn't feel like they did a very good go-home show whatsoever. So then Sunday on the 26th, January 26th, they have the Royal Rumble in Houston, Texas, which is just, pretty much a fairly short drive for the wrestlers to go over to Houston. And so I want to go over the results of it. If you haven't watched Royal Rumble yet, you may want to turn this off, listen to it a little later. I'm going to kind of go over the winners and a little bit maybe what happened and what I think may happen or what I hope to happen. Of course, the first was the pre-show. I really don't think that a pre-show needs to be 2 hours long, especially when it's mostly talking and flashbacks. If they were giving us interesting news, like they told us that Rusev and Bobby Lashley had been taken out of the Royal Rumble because they had gotten into it in the parking lot and both were not medically cleared. Well, if during the pre-show you want to show people arriving and things like that happening, make the pre-show a little longer. But I have a feeling that WWE is writing up to the last minute or even the day before. They really don't know. And so for them to say it's going to be a 2-hour pre-show, they don't really know how they're going to fill it. So I do think that they do a lot of almost cut and paste promos and everything. They put on Shorty G, which I'm going to call Chad Gable, versus Sheamus. I think that name Shorty G is stupid, and I thought it was really stupid for him to be the first opponent for Sheamus coming back. I don't think Chad Gable needs to be a jobber. And that's basically the role he's playing here. Everybody knows that when you come back from injury, they don't really start you off with losses. So pretty much everybody knew Sheamus was going to really go over in this one. So it did shock me that Shorty G or Chad Gable kind of had a little bit of a comeback in this one. The crowd looked like it was maybe half full. I don't even know if it was half full for this match. I really don't think anyone right now cares about Chad Gable's height. I don't think that it's that big of a deal that the WWE is wanting to make it into. I mean, he is a nationally, globally awarded amateur wrestler, and they probably need to treat him as such. Basically, this match, I'm just looking, is Sheamus gonna look good? He's gotten his body back. It is in shape, and you can tell that. But can he go for a full match? And I mean, the answer is definitely yes. He obviously hit Chad Gable with his bro kick for the win, and then they brought out the U.S. Championship match. As I said a couple weeks ago, I don't know why we're calling this the United States Championship. It seems like for the last, 4 months, maybe longer, that it's just been a Latino type. It's where they want to put the Latino wrestlers. With Rey Mysterio, Lucha House Party, Kalisto, Humberto, Andrade. I mean, it just seems like that's where they've all been fighting and what they've been fighting for. And I just want that to be over. I'm done. I like Andrade. I don't know Humberto. He is very vanilla to me. I could care less about his dimples. They seem to want to mention his dimples every time they talk about him. I could care less. They keep saying Humberto wants revenge for Andrade pulling up the mine and injuring him. I don't know him, so I don't care. If he wants revenge, great. Who is he? He has no story. I know that, people want to say he was, in the cruiserweights. He was in NXT. I don't care. I didn't watch any of that. I don't know his story. They brought him on too fast. He got hurt way too fast. He's been out of action. He all of a sudden comes back last week, and now he's got a title match. I don't understand that. So Andrade, he gets a clean win. Vega didn't even interfere. Let's just move on. I mean, if I had to grade this match, I would probably give it a C or C minus. Yes, Andrade can carry people. He shouldn't have to anymore. Let's get him into a new program. Let's get him in where somebody can show his talent and they can actually have a program leading up to WrestleMania. And I don't want that to be Ray, and I definitely don't want that to be Humberto. Falls count anywhere. I told you, really wasn't looking for them to really run around the stadium. Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin, they're both big guys. I don't feel like their cardio is up to par. I didn't really want to see them running around. I mentioned probably about 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago that I would like to see them go outside of the stadium, the arena, go in the parking lot, go, over to where the satellite vans are or something like that. I called it, Rude and Ziggler were going to interfere. They had to get involved. There was no way that, Corbin weren't going to get them involved and take on Roman Reigns by himself, which then this caused the Usos to have to make a save, and they got involved. There were a couple good spots that made this a little bit worthwhile, as far as like the porta potties and them showing up on the dugout. Roman Reigns basically hit a bunch of Superman punches and then speared him for the win. My main question is this over yet? Please let this be over. I'm done with this. They're not fighting for a belt. They're not fighting for prestige or anything like that. Just let this end. Please just let this end. Then we came to the Royal Rumble match. And they had not really went into who all was going to be in the Royal Rumble match. I believe a week up before Sunday's Royal Rumble, I think they'd only announced like 5 women. I actually like that. I like when we don't know, are the NXT women going to be in. We had heard that there might be some signings from the indies. Were they going to bring them in? What older superstars were they going to be bringing back? The women's division has a lot of talent. And let me stress it again. They have a lot of talent, but are they willing to showcase that? Are they willing to let them shine and do the things that they should be doing and letting them do what actually needs to go on? I've got to give big props to Beth Phoenix. You can tell that she has been working out. When she came back for Evolution in October with Natalia, and then came back after her dad died to kind of do a tribute to the Heart Foundation, I thought Beth Phoenix looked good then. You could tell that she got a little winded, but in this match, she looked unbelievable. I mean, she was in great shape. She was doing moves that I don't recall her doing before, and I was excited. I expected more from Kelly Kelly. We had been hearing probably for a good 2 weeks that she had let it slip that, she wanted to come back to the WWE. I believe she even made a remark that if she was going to be in the Rumble, that she had to make a good impression so that maybe she could come back to the WWE. Her marriage fell apart. They're getting a divorce. So I know that that's one of the reasons why she left, was because her husband, who was then her boyfriend, was a hockey player and didn't, want her traveling as much, wanted to have kids and things like that. So, I was really looking for a little more out of Kelly Kelly, and it was a little disappointed. The final 4 came down to, of course, Shayna Baszler and Beth Phoenix, Natalia, and then Charlotte Flair. And when it comes down to that final 4, I know a lot of people really wanted Shayna. I wanted Shayna. I wanted her to establish herself as the top heel. And I wanted it to be a surprise of which championship she was going to go after. I was hoping that she would make them wait. I thought there was a lot of different intriguing things that you could do, and even have her hinting that she might even go for a rematch against Rhea Ripley. So, I know a lot of people were rooting for Shayna, but during this match, because Beth Phoenix had looked so well, I was kind of a little rooting for her, especially since we weren't 100% sure we were going to get Edge in the men's match. But with Charlotte hanging around, you can't help but think Vince is calling this, and he is, I don't know, a big Charlotte fan because of Ric Flair. It was shocking, I think, to everyone to see Beth Phoenix eliminate Natty with them being such close friends. And then, Shayna got Beth Phoenix. And so it was Shayna versus Charlotte. And that's not, something that I don't think that a lot of people were expecting to see. They're both heels, but they're both different kinds of heels, as far as Shayna being this cocky badass, whereas Charlotte's more entitled, kind of brat heel. And so I was just, I don't know. I just got the feeling that Charlotte was going to win. And I am tired of Charlotte winning all the time. Of course, everyone loved Otis. saving Mandy Rose with his stomach and everything. I think that was the moment of the match. But I really want to give this match like a C minus or a D. I think that WWE Creative just really didn't go out of their way to come up with great spots, to create storylines, to make this match worthwhile. I thought there were too many times it drug. I thought a lot of natural things didn't happen. I think they were trying to introduce some swerves like Beth Phoenix taking out Natty, and I don't know that they were necessarily believable. So just really disappointed in the WWE Creative. I feel like they really shortchanged these women, and they are talented and they deserve more. So then we immediately, right after it, have another women's match. And I was like, why? Why are we doing this? I realize we don't have a lot of matches on the cards, and I know that the Rumble matches do take a while. But for us to immediately start another women's match, I think the crowd had a lot of the energy sucked out of them because they didn't know who was going to be in the women's matches. And watching a Rumble match, whether it's women or men, gets you pumped up. And so I think that they weren't ready, or I'm searching for a word, they weren't real excited about this match, even though they've been building this story up for about a month. Obviously, that's not a long time, but they have been building the story for the SmackDown's Women's Championship, Lacey Evans versus Bayley. I think I wasn't the only one that was a little shocked not to see Sasha Banks out there creating problems, being a distraction or anything like that. I just, I was a little shocked. Didn't really get that. I absolutely hated, don't know whether it was Bayley's idea or it was WWE's idea. I know they're really wanting her to make and turn into this heel, and they're wanting her to cross the line maybe. But I absolutely hated her, mocking the military salute. Just couldn't fathom that. In 4 to 6 months that Bayley has really crossed that far over. I don't think we've told that story. I don't think we've really told the reason why. I just really disappointed in that story. So of course, Evans got the moonsault and thought it was going to be over. And I picked her. I picked that Lacey would win this match. I really thought that they would give her the belt and have Sasha challenge her for it for WrestleMania. Maybe that'll happen with Elimination Chamber, but I think with this match, Lacey did prove that she wasn't probably 100% ready to carry the belt. So when she did the moonsault, Bayley, of course, got her knees up and then had to grab her tights, for the win to establish again that she's a heel. But I wasn't satisfied with this match. I felt like a lot of things could have been told. A lot of different storylines could have been brought out of this. They could have established both characters a lot more, but I don't know that they were given the time in the match to do it. And like I said, a month, 5 weeks build up is really not enough to get two women. Lacey's only been in the company a year, and Bayley being a heel for less than 6 months, I don't think they really got people truly into the story. So right after this, I thought that they would put the next women's match on. I really did. I don't know. I just really thought that they were going to save the strap match. They didn't. They put it in between the two women's matches. So we got the strap match for the Universal title with Daniel Bryan and The Fiend. It was basically everything you could hope for out of a strap match, out of a gimmick match. I just didn't think they would be able to do it. I had watched strap matches in the past before. They had been boring. They had did a lot of choking and stuff. But with Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan setting down and choreographing this match, and I'm sure that they had some agents' help also, but I truly believe that this was them. They really come up with a lot of good spots, a lot of storytelling. I loved Bray Wyatt beating him and beating him and beating him, and you could see the welts on Daniel Bryan so clear that that strap was actually hitting him. It was actually hurting him. Loved that Daniel Bryan got a lot of offense in. Not sure where they're going with the Fiend no-selling this. I can understand him standing up and begging for Daniel to hit him more, or for the punishment to continue, or to bring it on, or that, he wants him to try to hurt him. I just wish he wouldn't have no-sold it as much as he did. I think that's for The Undertaker. I don't think that is really The Fiend. But, so basically The Fiend just started beating him again with the strap. He got the Manimal Claw in for the win. And again, I'm asking that you guys write me. Hit me up at wrestlingovertime@gmail.com, or I am on Twitter and Facebook under Wrestling Overtime. Please tell me exactly what the Mandible Claw does, because to me it looks stupid. I wish he would get a different finisher. I really, really do. The Raw Championships, Women's Raw Championship, Becky Lynch and Asuka. I think this was a really good match. I wish they would have maybe drug it out just a little longer. I loved that Becky shook off a lot of the mind games that we could see Asuka playing. I liked how there were a couple times that I thought for sure the green mist was coming. It didn't. I thought, Asuka did some good offensive moves. I thought she was very aggressive. I thought Becky has been selling and wrestling better. She looked like she was more into it, which has been one of my complaints for the last couple months, that I feel like since she got engaged that she's been kind of, just phoning it in. But I felt like she was really involved in this match. I loved her, kicking the mist out of Asuka and not being able to get hit with it, and then hitting her with a disarmer and making Asuka tap out, because that brought us full circle. Since last year, Asuka tapped Becky out. Becky then tapped Asuka out. I'm wondering if there is some way now that Asuka gets her title shot at WrestleMania, or does Ronda come back and basically throw her out of the picture again, or do they let Asuka have, her rematch, her WrestleMania moment where she actually wins it and basically comes full circle as Becky. Then we had the Men's Royal Rumble. I think we discussed last week about how it was very intriguing for me, the concept that Brock could win it. I didn't think he would, and I think I said that, but it would throw that title picture into chaos. And would he choose to basically take on himself and just not show up at WrestleMania? Of course, they're not going to do that. Or would he choose to go after the Universal title, which is the Fiend? And so that part was intriguing. Like I said, I really didn't think it would happen. I knew the dark horse, of course, was going to be Drew McIntyre. I think everybody's favorite, well, I don't know that it was necessarily their favorite, but their pick was Roman Reigns. However, my pick was Seth Rollins. I thought this whole Monday Night Messiah, that would be, he could use that as his fate, his destiny, his prophecy of him winning the Royal Rumble. So that's kind of what I was thinking. But I like that the Beast basically showed to be the monster that he is. Just throwing people just over the ropes, F5 and body pressing and throwing them. I loved that they showed that Keith Lee is, well, he's not there yet, so I won't say he is, but that he can also be a monster. And with him eliminating Brock, he could be the person that I think for 2 or 3 years they've wanted Braun Strowman to be. And he keeps messing up backstage, or, he keeps messing up in the ring. And I don't think Keith Lee will do that. So I was really excited to see Keith Lee put in that role to show, that he's a monster too. I loved how Rollins entered at number 30. I think we were all expecting John Cena. And for Seth to show up at number 30 and just boom, immediately go after Roman Reigns, I thought that was cool. I thought they were telling a story of the Shield is not here anymore, and the Brotherhood is broken. And I really liked that. I wish they would have continued that. But I was happy with the Final Four. I mean, I think it was a big deal that Edge came back. They showcased him. They made a lot of true fans that have stuck with them, for 20, 30 years, believe, hey, Edge can come back and win this. With Randy Orton in there, they left that play where Rated RKO could get back together, work together, do some things. And then, of course, they had to have Roman Reigns in there so that people would automatically assume that Vince was choosing him. And then the guy they'd been building up for 2 months, Drew McIntyre, was in there. And like I said, there was a little while where I thought, for nostalgia's sake, for ratings' sake, they're going to give it to Edge. But I was seriously surprised that they left Drew McIntyre in there. I absolutely loved that Roman Reigns, who was basically stolen Edge's spear, missed his spear, and Edge speared him. I thought that was a great calling card. Of course, then Roman, Superman, McIntyre, and McIntyre just, he Claymored. And I love the Claymore. It's, it's something easy, it's something simple, but it's based on strength, it's based on, and Drew makes it look so dangerous. And depending on what guy is taking it, they can make it look so dangerous and devastating. And I just think the men's Royal Rumble turned out really, really well. The only thing is I thought they pushed Brock Lesnar just a little too far. He was in there for a little too long. I understand that he was going to break the record and everything, but just felt like it got boring, slow there for a little while. But I am glad that it seems like they're ready to finally push McIntyre. They are ready to finally give him some notoriety, to get fans behind him, to let him be his smart alecky self that he is, when he's on podcasts or he gives interviews. I'm glad he's good on the mic. I really look forward to him and Paul Heyman dueling, and I think this build-up could be fun if WWE Creative lets it be. Let Paul Heyman and Drew McIntyre go after it. Don't let them touch a lot in the ring. I don't want to see Drew Claymore Brock Lesnar next week, and then the following week Brock's at 5 in him, and then the week after that Drew is Claymore in him, and then he's looking for him at Elimination Chamber in Saudi Arabia, and he's sneak attacking him, or Brock's at 5 in him through a tape. I don't want to see all that. Just let him talk. If you want him to touch once or twice in the next 2.5 months, have at it. But don't make it an every week thing. Don't make us be sick of it before WrestleMania. I beg you. But anyway, you guys know we are for the fans, by a fan, and that you guys can write us at any time at, like I said, wrestlingovertime@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Twitter or join our Facebook page and hit us up on that about anything you want to talk about. Also, you guys can see that I am hosted by Red Circle. I am on all major platforms, so don't forget to subscribe to Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or Spotify or Stitcher or whatever you're on. However, if you would like to make a donation to this podcast, or you want to tip us at Wrestling Overtime, just go over to Red Circle and hit the button, and we will be more than happy to holler out your name on the next podcast. I hope you guys have a good week, and I'll be back soon.